High above the tree line, where oxygen thins and sound feels swallowed by stone, winter never truly leaves. Wind scours the mountains of Central Asia, stripping heat from anything exposed. Temperatures plunge far below what most mammals can tolerate. Snow hardens into ice. Prey disappears into rock and shadow. And yet, something moves across the cliffs. A snow leopard steps onto a ledge no wider than its own body. Its breath clouds briefly, then vanishes into the cold. There is no hesitation, no urgency, no visible struggle against the environment pressing in from every direction. This animal does not endure the cold. It belongs to it. Here would be fatal. A single misstep means death. A single wasted calorie can decide survival. Every muscle, every breath, every behavioral choice has been shaped by millions of years of selection. Today, we're diving into why snow leopards survive extreme cold without fear. Not through myth or mystique, but through biology, evolution, and finely tuned survival strategy. At the elevations snow leopards inhabit, cold is only part of the challenge. The other threat is invisible. Above 3,000 meters, oxygen levels drop sharply, pushing unadapted mammals toward rapid fatigue, loss of coordination, and failure to generate heat. For a predator that must sprint, leap, and overpower prey larger than itself, this environment should be crippling. Instead, the snow leopard moves with calm precision. Its survival begins inside the chest. Snow leopards possess enlarged nasal cavities lined with complex turbinate bones. These structures warm incoming air, trap moisture, and regulate temperature before oxygen reaches the lungs. In extreme cold, this prevents respiratory heat loss, an often overlooked danger at high altitude. Every breath balances oxygen intake with thermal preservation, refined by evolution to near perfection. Their lungs are proportionally large, increasing the surface area for gas exchange. A broad chest cavity allows more oxygen extraction from thinner air. Blood adaptations reinforce this system. Hemoglobin binds oxygen efficiently, even at low partial pressures, ensuring delivery to muscles despite scarcity. Similar traits appear in other high-altitude animals, but in snow leopards, they support explosive, high-risk movement rather than endurance. Muscle structure reflects this strategy. Snow leopards rely primarily on fast twitch fibers, built for short, powerful bursts instead of prolonged chases. This limits oxygen debt, reduces heat loss, and conserves energy. A hunt is not a marathon, it is a single, decisive moment. By avoiding sustained exertion, the animal preserves both strength and warmth. Metabolism completes the system. Snow leopards maintain a relatively low basal metabolic rate for a predator of their size. During long inactive periods, energy use slows dramatically, essential in landscapes where meals may be days or weeks apart. When movement is required, metabolism spikes briefly, then returns to conservation mode. The body behaves less like a furnace and more like a carefully managed battery. Cold tolerance, then, is not about producing more heat. It is about wasting less. Fat distribution follows the same principle. Unlike polar mammals with thick blubber, snow leopards carry moderate subcutaneous fat paired with dense insulation from fur. Excess fat would compromise agility on cliffs. Too little would expose vital organs. Evolution favors balance, precision over bulk. Most striking is what snow leopards do not display: physiological stress. Where humans show rapid breathing, elevated cortisol, and panic responses, snow leopards remain stable. Cold and altitude do not trigger alarm systems. The environment is not perceived as hostile. It is baseline. This absence of fear is not psychological courage. It is biological normalcy. The snow leopard's internal systems evolved alongside thin air and frozen stone. What terrifies other species is simply homeostasis here, a steady state maintained on the roof of the world. In extreme cold, survival is not decided by temperature alone, but by how quickly heat escapes the body. For snow leopards, the margin between life and death is measured in energy lost to wind, snow, and frozen stone. Their solution is not a single adaptation, but a layered system designed to slow heat loss at every boundary. The most visible layer is fur. Snow leopards possess one of the densest coats of any wildcat, with thousands of hairs per square centimeter along the belly and flanks. Each hair is long, fine, and hollow, trapping air close to the skin. Once still, this air becomes insulation, reducing convective heat loss even in high-altitude winds. The coat is not uniform. Along the back and sides, coarse guard hairs repel snow and moisture, preventing meltwater from soaking into the undercoat. On the underside, where contact with ice and frozen rock is constant, fur grows longer and thicker. This allows snow leopards to rest directly on snow without rapid loss of core heat. Stillness in cold environments can be as costly as movement if heat escapes unchecked. Fat plays a quieter but essential role. Snow leopards store fat sparingly and strategically. Rather than forming a continuous insulating layer like blubber, fat concentrates around vital organs, protecting core systems while keeping limbs light and responsive. In steep terrain, excess mass would compromise balance. Evolution favors insulation that preserves control. One of the snow leopard's most distinctive features, the long, thick tail, serves multiple thermal functions. When curled around the body during rest, it reduces heat loss from the face and nose, shielding areas where warm blood flows close to the surface. At the same time, the tail remains muscular and flexible, maintaining its critical role in balance. Heat management extends to the extremities. Snow leopard paws are wide and fur-covered underneath, functioning like natural snowshoes. This spreads body weight across the snow while insulating the pads from frozen ground. Blood flow to the paws is tightly regulated through countercurrent heat exchange, transferring warmth from arterial blood to cooler venous blood returning to the core. Tissues are protected from freezing without excessive heat loss. The result is not an animal battling the cold, but one engineered to leak heat slowly and deliberately. Exposure has been biologically neutralized. Heat stays where it matters. Rest remains safe. Movement remains precise. In this system, cold is no longer a threat. It becomes a constant, accounted for, controlled, and largely irrelevant. The real danger lies elsewhere, not in temperature, but in the cost of a single mistake. In the mountains, mistakes are punished instantly. A single slip can end everything. For snow leopards, survival depends on moving through vertical terrain with absolute control. What appears as fearlessness is not bravado. It is mechanical certainty. Every part of the snow leopard's body is designed to make unstable ground predictable. Their skeleton is compact yet flexible, with relatively short forelimbs and powerful hindquarters. This lowers the center of mass, improving balance on narrow ledges. An exceptionally flexible spine acts as a kinetic bridge between leaps, storing and releasing energy with each bound. When a snow leopard jumps, often across gaps exceeding 15 meters, the movement is not chaotic. It is controlled physics. The paws provide constant feedback. Large, rounded, and fur-lined, they increase surface contact with rock and snow. Thick pads absorb shock and dampen vibration, allowing secure, silent landings. Silence is not only about stealth. Uncontrolled impact increases injury risk on hard terrain. Tendons further reduce cost. Elastic energy stored during takeoff is recovered on landing, minimizing muscular effort and fatigue. Less exertion means less heat production and lower energy loss. In this environment, efficiency outweighs speed. Vision plays a critical role. Forward-facing eyes and refined depth perception allow precise distance judgment in landscapes shaped by rock and shadow. Snow leopards assess leaps conservatively, committing only when success is likely. They pause, test footing, and retreat if conditions feel unstable. Risk is managed, not challenged. Hunting reflects this discipline. Rather than chasing prey across open ground, snow leopards use elevation and terrain. Attacks often begin from above, converting gravity into advantage. The final strike is brief and decisive. There is no prolonged pursuit, only impact. Even when errors occur, the body is prepared. Flexible joints and powerful muscles help absorb shock, reducing injury during slips or imperfect landings. While injuries do happen, they are rare relative to the danger of the terrain. Evolution has removed bodies that could not survive occasional mistakes. In a world where hesitation can be fatal, fear would slow reaction and disrupt balance. Precision replaces panic. Movement becomes calculation. The mountain stops being an obstacle and becomes infrastructure, a three-dimensional map encoded into bone, tendon, and nerve. Fear is not shaped by strength alone. It emerges from how the brain interprets risk, uncertainty, and reward. For snow leopards, survival at altitude depends less on aggression and more on restraint, on knowing when not to act. Snow leopards are solitary hunters in environments where encounters are rare and costly. They cannot rely on numbers, endurance, or recovery. Injury, prolonged chases, or conflict can be fatal. This reality has shaped a nervous system built for patience. Field observations show snow leopards moving slowly, pausing often, scanning terrain, and abandoning action when conditions are unfavorable. This is not a weakness. It is strategic inhibition. Predators that rely on ambush typically exhibit lower baseline stress responses than pursuit hunters. Elevated stress hormones interfere with fine motor control and judgment, both disastrous in vertical terrain. Snow leopards operate in a state of calm vigilance rather than constant arousal. Stillness is their default, conserving energy and reducing exposure. Hunting behavior reveals how fear is regulated, not eliminated. Snow leopards abandon most stalking attempts. Fewer than 1 in 5 end in a kill. Instead of escalating effort, they disengage. The energy lost in a failed approach is less dangerous than the injury risk of persistence. Fear exists, but it is precisely calibrated. Territorial behavior follows the same logic. Although territories can span hundreds of square kilometers, direct conflict is rare. Scent marking and visual cues replace confrontation. In an environment where healing is slow and prey scarce, avoidance is safer than dominance. Cold further highlights this mental adaptation. While cold amplifies stress in many mammals, snow leopards are most active at dawn and dusk, when temperatures are lowest. Cold is not perceived as a threat, but as an opportunity. When prey movement increases and camouflage improves. Learning begins early. Cubs raised in harsh terrain practice balance, retreat, and caution long before independent hunting. Play is controlled, not reckless. Each movement is a rehearsal. By adulthood, the environment feels familiar rather than hostile. Fear, then, is not absent from the snow leopard's mind. It is disciplined. It emerges only when conditions exceed tolerance. Unstable snow, unfamiliar terrain, human disturbance. Within their evolutionary limits, the world remains predictable. The snow leopard does not conquer its environment emotionally. It understands it. And in that understanding, fear loses its power. In the mountains where snow leopards inhabit, abundance is an illusion. The landscape appears vast, but biologically it is sparse. Prey, ibex, blue sheep, argali, are widely spaced, migratory, and constantly alert. A single failed hunt can echo for days. Survival here is defined not by what exists, but by what is missing. Snow leopards are built for this absence. Their territories stretch across immense ranges, not as a sign of dominance, but necessity. Each patrols hundreds of square kilometers, tracking seasonal prey movement and terrain that offers concealment. Memory becomes as important as strength, knowing where prey once moved, not where it is guaranteed to be. During lean periods, snow leopards endure extended caloric deficits. They can fast for days by lowering activity and conserving energy. Unlike predators in richer ecosystems, they do not respond with frantic hunting. Movement slows, risks narrow, energy becomes currency, spent only when odds justify the cost. This restraint explains the absence of panic. In scarcity, urgency accelerates loss of control, of energy, of opportunity. Patience becomes the dominant survival trait. Evolution has filtered for individuals who wait rather than force outcomes. Reproduction reflects the same precision. Females give birth to small litters and invest heavily in each cub. Growth is slow. Learning is extended. There is no surplus to waste. Every offspring represents a calculated gamble against environmental limits. Despite these adaptations, snow leopards live close to their biological edge. Their design is narrow, not flexible. Small changes, declining prey, deeper snow, human disturbance can push the system beyond balance. What makes them fearless in cold also makes them vulnerable to change. Much remains unknown. How close do snow leopards live to their metabolic limits? How much colder or scarcer can their world become before adaptation fails? We do not yet know. What is clear is that their fearlessness is not defiance, it is equilibrium. High on frozen ridges, the snow leopard survives not by overpowering its environment, but by fitting into it with near-perfect precision. In that stillness, balanced between survival and disappearance, evolution reveals both its brilliance and its fragility.